Hey guys, this is going to be my birth story. I'm going to try to get this done while Aria's napping, but I don't know if I can do that because she's been napping quite a while, so she might wake up. She might join us. Um, and I didn't write any notes. I never write notes. I'm horrible at that. So, anyways, I'm just going to get started. So, I didn't know, I don't think I told you this, but I changed doctors. I don't know, I think it was around 20 weeks or 25 weeks or something like that, because my doctor, she didn't have a good bedside manner, and I just wasn't getting that connection that I wanted, I guess, from a doctor. So anyway, I switched doctors, and how it happened was, one day I went in and my doctor was sick, so I had to see a different doctor, and her name was Dr. D. So I was like, that's fine, sure. And she was awesome. I fell in love with her like the minute she started talking to me. She was so interested in what I had to say, and she was just very caring and loving and nice. It was just really great. So I changed to her, which it's worked out perfect, and I'll get to that at the end. But anyway, so I guess it was about I don't know, I think I went in for my 38-week appointment. Yeah, I was going to say 37, but 38-week appointment. And she had told me that she was going to go ahead and do a C-section, if that was okay with me, because I had high blood pressure, and also because they expected Aria to be they were expecting her to be 9 pounds and 13 ounces, I think, and she was 9'6", so they were expecting her to be almost 10 pounds. They were expecting her to be a huge baby. So due to that, and due to my high blood pressure, they thought a C-section would be better for me and the baby, so that the baby wouldn't have to go through the birth canal being that big. And I know it's been done and it can happen, but also with my high blood pressure, she said it was just probably better if I had a C-section. And I said, well, I guess that's fine. I kind of wanted to try naturally and have her vaginally, but I wanted whatever was safest for me and her. And knowing that this new doctor was very caring and loving, and she had the best interest for me and the baby, I knew that when she offered the C-section, I knew I probably should go with what she said. And I was fine with the C-section because, it's actually easier than vaginally. So anyway, and I'll get to that too. So we scheduled my C-section for October 7th. And it was supposed to be at 11:30 is when I'd go in, and they'd get my IVs in, and they'd get all that set up. And then at 1:30 I was supposed to actually go in for surgery and have her. So the night before the surgery, I was so nervous. I was like panicking and telling my husband, like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm going to freak out. This is not going to go right. You know how you just have all these thoughts in your mind, like you want the best for your baby, and you just have all these thoughts like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I was literally going crazy. And I'm very worrisome anyway. I worry about like everything. I think about, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? So I was very, like, you could probably picture me. I was like freaking out, seriously. And so I thought I wasn't going to get any sleep that night, but I did. I went to sleep, and I woke up. I actually woke up pretty early. I was going to try to sleep in a little bit since I didn't have to be there till 11:30, but I think I woke up a little early, not too early. I got up, got in the shower, got a nice hot shower. I couldn't eat, so she told me that I couldn't eat or drink. I couldn't even drink water. I couldn't drink anything. I couldn't eat ice. I couldn't do none of that from midnight until I had her. So yeah, that night before we went out and had a really good dinner because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to eat. So anyway, that morning of the C-section, I just woke up and I had a nice hot shower and I just kind of relaxed, tried to relax, and I spent, my husband was off obviously because he was going to go with me to have her, and I just spent that last morning of just us together and knowing that we wouldn't be coming back to the house alone. We'd have a little baby, and so we just spent that time together, and it was mostly me freaking out. I was still freaking out that morning. I was nervous, and I was just kind of like shaking. I was like, oh my gosh. I was really nervous for the C-section because there was a lot of people telling me that, oh, it's horrible and you're going to be hurting for weeks and you're not going to be able to walk and just all these things. Now, I did have people tell me that it was going to be fine and all that, but I had a lot of people telling me worse things than I did good. But so I was just freaking out. So anyways, we went in, and I went up there and I said, hey, I'm scheduled for a C-section. And she said, okay, and let me look. And she looked at the books and stuff. And she said, just have a seat and we'll call you back. Well, so I went and had a seat, and it was probably like 12:30 and I still wasn't back there. And I was supposed to actually have her at 1:30. My doctor was going to come up and, cause the hospital that I delivered at, my doctor's office is actually in the hospital. So it was kind of convenient. She was just going to come up, do the C-section, and go back down to the doctor's office. So anyways, I was kind of freaking out thinking that if they didn't get me in time, she might not be able to do my C-section, and then I would just have to have a random doctor do my C-section, which would have been fine, I guess, because they're all doctors and they all know what they're doing, but I really wanted Dr. D to do this with me. So it was like 12:30, so I went back up there. I said, I was supposed to be back there at 11:30 to get prepped, and I'm still not back there. And she said, okay, I'm sorry, we had an emergency C-section, we had to get somebody else in. So I said, okay, that's fine, because I understand that, because they should have just let me know what was going on, because I thought they were just blowing me off at first, making me wait. But obviously emergency C-sections become before planned C-sections. I wouldn't want somebody to, sorry, my phone. I wouldn't want somebody to, lose their baby or something because I was planned, and, anyway. So, yeah, I'm like losing train of thought now. Okay, so at that point, so she told me there was an emergency C-section, so I went and sat back down, and at this point I was like really shaking. I was like, I'm worried, they're just making me wait, and I haven't had any food, I'm starving, I'm thirsty, like, I had all these things going through my mind. And then they finally called me back, but it wasn't for the C-section. They called me back, and I went to admissions, and and I filled out, I pre-registered for the hospital, and no matter what you do, I don't care if you pre-register or not, they're still going to ask you questions over and over and over. The same questions that they asked me when I pre-registered, the same questions. It was crazy. So they just kept asking me all these questions. They took the down payment that I had to do because of my insurance, my deductible, and so I went back out into the lobby and was waiting some more. And my dad, my mom, Devin's mom, and I think that's it. Yeah, those were the people that were out there with us waiting. So, because we thought I was going to have a baby at 1:30, right? Didn't happen. So, I went back out there, and I think it was getting close to 1:30 that the time I was actually supposed to have her, and I still wasn't called. And I was thinking, well, how long does an emergency C-section happen? Like, how long does this go? So I went back up to the desk, and I said, because, at this point I was also very worried, like I said, about my doctor. She was only supposed to come up for that little bit of time at 1:30 and then go back down and work at her doctor's office. So I was really worried that this wasn't going to happen, and I was freaking out. Something else to freak out about. So, I went back up there and, I was like, what's going on now? I was telling her my situation about how the doctor was supposed to come up, and she said, well, we had another emergency C-section. So they had 2 emergency C-sections at this point. So I went and sat back down. I just was going to wait until they called me because I didn't want them to get aggravated with me coming up there. So they finally called me back, and honestly, it was probably about, before I went back there, my doctor actually came up at 1:30, and she saw me in the waiting room, and she was like, they told me what was going on. They had emergency C-sections. She said, don't worry about a thing. I will be up here whenever you're ready. And to me, I just love this doctor. And to me, that was so awesome of her because I was really worried about that. And I'm sure she knew I was worried about that. And so really, I just felt a sigh of relief. I was like, well, she's going to do this no matter what. I'm fine. I don't care. They can take all day as long as she's going to deliver Aria. So at this point, they finally called me back about, I want to say about 3:30 or so. And they called me back. They got my IV in. They took my blood pressure. They were asking me questions. They shaved, I think they shave you down there anyway when you're having a C-section. They just shave the part where they're going to cut you really good. So even with your baby hairs, they shave everything. They want nothing there to interfere with the incision. So they did that. I'm trying to think. They gave me some pain medication to go ahead and start getting kicked in. And I had to sit in this room for quite a while because there was a 3rd emergency C-section. This was crazy. This was the day that 3 emergency C-sections happened in I don't know, a couple hours. It all happened together. So I was sitting there and I was getting so I had so much anxiety because I was anxious. I was waiting for this moment to happen. My back was killing me because they had me sitting in an awkward position because they had that non-stress test on my belly. And so I couldn't really move and I was just so uncomfortable. I finally just got up. I didn't care what they said. I just got up because I literally had been sitting there for probably about 2 hours. Let's see. Probably about 2 hours. And my husband was in there with me and I said, look, I've got to get up. I can't sit like this any longer. I'm going to go crazy. So I just got up and I just kind of stood up and had to stretch a little bit and I needed to go to the bathroom. So my husband went out there and he was in the hallway and trying to find a nurse saying she needs to go to the bathroom. And I had the IV set, on me. So I had to, it was horrible. So anyway, the nurse walked me to the bathroom with the machine, with the IV machine and all that. And I used the bathroom and I went back to my room and she told me to sit back down. I was like, okay, woman, I'm sorry, but I cannot sit back down. If I sit back down, I'm going to scream. I'm hurting. I cannot sit back down. Plus, I was just so anxious and nervous and it was crazy. So I was just kind of walking and I eventually did sit back down, but it was on my own will, not hers. And the anesthesiologist came in and told me what was going to happen and how I needed to sit up when they did the spinal block. And he was just, asking if I was allergic to anything, just stuff like that. And so I figured, well, since he came in, hopefully it's the moment is about to happen. So they went ahead and gave the scrubs and all that to my husband to get on to go to